Hey everyone, it's your average chess player here. Today we are going to look at yet another endgame position. I've been doing an endgame series on my channel, and this is yet another episode for you on that. It is White's turn to play, and we have to figure out if it is a win or a draw. Feel free to pause the video here and try to find the solution for yourselves. If you want to check if you have found the right solution, you can skip to the solution part of the video. I'm going to leave timestamps in the description so you can just skip to that part. But if you want to stick around and see how I solved this position and what mistakes that I did while calculating and how I actually arrived at the right solution, you can stick around and watch the rest of the video. I'll also go through different variations and see what is working. And if you found the wrong solution, you can again watch the rest of the video and see what is the right solution and how did I come up with it. So we'll start with it. Like I said, it's White's turn to play. White's rook is attacked, so we have to move the rook. That is the primary thing. So that we can't move the king here because the rook will be captured. Um, White has this just this rook, black has the pawn. So the objective here is probably going to be um, eliminating this pawn somehow. And the way to do that is to either separate the king and the pawn, or try to bring in our own king, double attack this pawn with the rook and the king, and capture the pawn. So the plan is simple. We just have like a one-step plan, but we need to know how to execute that. My initial move that I did before thinking of a plan and all that was just playing rook a4. And then here I immediately realized that this is just a draw after rook a4, because black can just play d4, and if I give a check on a5, um, king e4, rook a4, and then king e3, and now black will just shield any checks that you give with the rook, with the pawn, and just keep moving the pawn ahead. And there's not really a easy way to win this game, because in fact there's no way to win this game. Now it's just a draw. So any movement of the rook across the file looks to be a draw. Like I even tried rook h4, but black can pretty much do the same thing. Just that this time we'll hide behind this pawn and like keep doing the same technique as if we had a rook on a4, whatever we did there. So any moves across the rank is kind of pointless. We'll go back. Then my so again, like going back to my plan, I was like, okay, so I still need to bring my king closer. Like, so if I start with something like rook d1 and then try to bring my king closer, maybe I will win. So the first variation I calculated here was after rook d1 was king e4, and then I thought, oh, okay, king d6. The pawn is attacked twice, so d4 has to be played, and then king c5 attacking the pawn again twice with the king and the rook. So either d3 has to be played, and after king c4, king e3, there's no other way, and black loses the pawn and white wins. So I was excited. Like I was like, okay, hey, I think I found the solution just in like the second move that I looked at, or the second variation I looked at. So I would just want to double check to make sure that I'm not missing anything. And surely I missed just the move d4 here. Black is not forced to play king e4. d4, the reason being, black need not give up this control of the d6 square yet and can advance the pawn by himself. And as white, I still want to come over and double attack this pawn, so I can play the move king d7. And after king d5, um, here's where I realized, okay, this position is I'm stuck in this position. I can't do anything. Um, I What I realized was if I play something like king c7, black can just play king c5 and keep shouldering me away and not giving me any way to get into the position. Same goes for king e7, king e5. And then I realized one more thing, which is, oh, if it was in this position, if it was black's turn to play, right now it's white's turn to play, but if it was black's turn to play, black would have to like force themselves to move in either direction, like how we are doing, and then we can take the opposite direction and like get that opposition, and then maybe we would get access to that pawn. So that was the first thing that stuck to me. So I thought, okay, so to do that, maybe I can lose a tempo with rook d2. I was like, okay, I need to put a black in a zugzwang, so rook d2 might effectively do it. So then I started looking at the continuation of the variation. So I was like, okay, king c4, king e4. I can play something like king d6 or even king c6, whatever. d3, king c5, king e3, rook d1. Let's say d2, king c4. Now white is just one move away from catching up to the pawn, but black can play king e2. And now I cannot do anything. Black will queen the pawn, and I have to give up my rook, so the game is a draw. And the second thing that I noticed, like I again came back to this position, is in this position, if I had one additional tempo, if for my king to be on c3, I will be winning because I can play rook takes d2 instead of rook a1 or something like that. So these are the two things that I realized. This was one, and the other one was the position I showed you is in this position. If it was black's turn to play instead of white, this position could be winning for white because you would get the opposition and start attacking the pawn. So and then once these two things were set, I realized where I lost my tempo, um, and all the way here, which I showed you, I lost a tempo here in between, and I realized where I lost the tempo. It was this point, king e3, where I'm again putting my rook on d1 to protect the rook, and this is where I realized I played my first move that I played was rook d1 all the way here. Uh, yeah, I played rook d1 all the way here, and then I moved my rook to d2 to lose a tempo to get black to move in that position. But again, I had to lose another tempo because black was attacking my rook. And that's when I realized, okay, the whole point now is the fact that in this position, my rook has to be on d1. I cannot be on d2 because I lose a tempo. And because I saved a tempo now, this should be black's turn to play. So that is the idea, the final idea I came across. I came to. Then I was like, okay, let me start with the move rook d2. And now, if you play the same move d4, now I play rook d1, and black cannot play king e4 because he would immediately give up d6. And if he plays king d5, I play king d7. Black's in a zugzwang because it's the same position that we saw, but it's black's turn to play. And whatever black does, if black plays king e4, black is giving up the control of d6 or c6, doesn't matter, and we can take control of that. And now black has nowhere for to prevent us from coming forward. Now black can play king e3, king c5, attacking the pawn twice. So black has to play d3, king here, attacking the pawn twice again. So d2, king c3, king e2, and we reach our dream position where we can now play rook takes d2 check, and this is an elementary rook and king checkmate. What a simple but still a nice little end game. Let's recap. This is definitely interesting for me to calculate different variations again to fine tune and correct what mistake I made previously. So we saw that the plan was to like either try to separate these the king and the pawn, or get our own king closer so that we can double attack this pawn and capture it. We tried the move rook a4 and the rook h4, but then we realized that the black king can just shield the checks with the pawn and keep moving forward, and the game will be a draw. And then we looked at the position uh, with rook d1, and we realized that we are losing a tempo, a forced tempo because of that. And that's how we ended up with the solution of rook d2 and even rook d3 with the same effect, where after something like d4, we have to now waste a tempo with rook d1, and after something like king d5, in order to not give up the control of d6, and king d7, black's in a zugzwang, and black has to pick a side pick a square, and white will go in the opposite direction. So in the variation we saw in the video was king e4, king d6, uh, d3, king c5, king e3, king c4, and after d2, king c3 and king e2, white can now win this pawn with rook takes d2 check, and it's an elementary checkmate from this. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you liked it, leave a like on the video, and feel free to subscribe to my channel if you enjoy content like this. Um, Catch you guys in the next one.